Chapter 13. Room for Error. The most important part of every plan is planning on your plan and not going according to plan. Some of the best examples of smart financial behavior can be found in an unlikely place, Las Vegas casinos. Not among all players, of course, but a tiny group of blackjack players who practice card counting can teach ordinary people something extraordinarily important about managing money, the importance of room for error. The fundamentals of blackjack card counting are simple. No one can know with certainty what card the dealer will draw next. But by tracking the cards have already been dealt, you can calculate what cards remain in the deck. Doing so can tell you the odds of a particular card being drawn by the dealer. As a player, you bet more when the odds of getting a card you want are in your favor and less when they are against you. The mechanics of how this is done don't matter here. What matters is what a blackjack card counter knows. They are playing a god of odds, not certainties. In any particular hand, they think they have a good chance of being right, but no, there's a decent chance they're wrong. It might sound strange given their possession, but their strategy relies entirely on humility. Humility that they don't know and cannot know exactly what's going to happen next, so play their hand accordingly. The card counting system works because it tilts the odds over so slightly from the house of the player. But bet too heavily even when the odds seem in your favor, and if you're wrong, you might lose so much that you don't have enough money to keep playing. There is never a moment when you're so right that you can bet every chip in front of you. The world isn't that kind to anyone. The world isn't that kind to anyone, not consistently anyways. You have to give yourself room for error. You have to plan on your plan, not going according to your plan. Kevin Lewis, a successful card counter portrayed in a book Bringing Down the House, wrote more about this philosophy. Although card counting is statistically proven to work, it does not guarantee you will win every hand, let alone every trip you make to the casino. We must make sure that we have enough money to withstand any swings of bad luck. Let's assume we have roughly a 2% edge over the casino. That still means the casino will win 49% of the time. Therefore, you need to have enough money to withstand any variant swings against you. A rule of thumb is that you should have at least 100 basic units. Assuming you start with $10,000, you could comfortably play a $100 unit. History is littered with good ideas taken too far, which are indistinguishable from bad ideas. The wisdom in having room for error is acknowledging that uncertainty, randomness, and chance unknowns are an ever-present part of life. The only way to deal with them is by increasing the gap between what you think will happen and what can happen while still leaving you capable of fighting another day. Benjamin Graham is known for his concept of margin of safety. He wrote about it extensively and in mathematical detail. But my favorite summary of the theory came when he mentioned in an interview that the purpose of margin of safety is to render the forecast unnecessary. It's hard to overstate how much power lies in that simple statement. Margin of safety. You can also call it room for error or redundancy. Is the only effective way to safely navigate a world that is governed by odds, not certainties. And almost everything related to money exists in that kind of world. Forecasting with precision is hard. This is obvious to the card counter because no one could possibly know where a particular card lies in a shuffle deck. It's less obvious to someone asking, what will the average annual return of the stock market be over the next 10 years? Or on what date will I be able to retire? But they are fundamentally the same. The best we can do is think about odds. Graham's margin of safety is a simple suggestion that we don't need to view the world in front of us black or white, predictable or a crapshoot. The gray area, pursuing things where a range of potential outcomes are acceptable, is the smart way to proceed. But people underestimate the need for room for error in almost everything they do that involves money. Stock analysts give their clients price targets, not price ranges. Economic forecasters predict things like precise figures, rarely broad probabilities. The pundit who speaks in unshakable certainties will gain a larger following than the one who says, we can't know for sure, and speaks in probabilities. We do this in all kinds of financial endeavors, especially those related to our own decisions. Harvard psychologist Max Bazerman once showed that when analyzing other people's home renovation plans, most people estimate the project would run between 25 and 50% over budget. But when it comes to their own projects, people estimate that renovations will be completed on time and at a budget. Oh, and the eventual disappointment. Two things cause us to avoid room for error. One is the idea that somebody must know what the future holds, driven by the uncomfortable feeling that comes from admitting the opposite. The second is that you're therefore doing yourself harm by not taking actions that fully exploit an accurate view of that future coming true. But room for error is underappreciated and misunderstood. It's often viewed as a conservative hedge used by those who don't want to take much risk or aren't confident in their views. But when used appropriately, it's quite the opposite. Room for error lets you endure a range of potential outcomes, and endurance lets you stick around long enough to let the odds of benefiting from a low probability outcome fall in your favor. The biggest gains occur infrequently, either because they don't happen over or because they take time to compound. So the person with enough room for error in part of their strategy, cash, to let them endure hardship in another stocks as an edge over the person who gets wiped out, game over, insert more tokens when they're wrong. Bill Gates understood this well. When Microsoft was a young company, he said he came up with this incredibly conservative approach that I wanted to have enough money in the bank to pay a year's worth of payroll even if we didn't get any payments coming in. Warren Buffett expressed a similar idea when he told Berkshire Hathaway shareholders in 2008, I have pledged to you, the rating agencies and myself, to always run Berkshire with more than ample cash. When forced to choose, I will not trade even a night's sleep for the chance of extra profits. There are a few specific places for investors to think about room for error. One is volatility. Can you survive your assets declining by 30%? On a spreadsheet, maybe yes, in terms of actually paying your bills and staying cash flow positive. But what about mentally? It is easy to underestimate what a 30% decline does to your psyche. Your confidence may become shot at very moment opportunity as its highest, you or your spouse. may decide it's time for a new plan or new career. I know several investors who quit after losses because they were exhausted, physically exhausted. Spreadsheets are good at telling you when the numbers or don't add up add up. They're not good at modeling how you'll feel when you tuck your kids in at night wondering if the investment decisions you've made were a mistake that will hurt their future. Having a gap between what you can technically endure versus what's emotionally possible in an overlooked version of room for error. Another is saving for retirement. We can look at history and see, for example, that the US stock market has returned an annual average of 6.8% after inflation since 1870s. It's reasonable first approximation to use that as an estimate of what to expect on your own diversified portfolio when saving for retirement. You can use those return assumptions to back into the amount of money you'll need to save each month to achieve your target nestage. But what if future returns are lower? Or what if long-term history is a good estimate of the long-term future, but your target retirement date ends up falling in the middle of a brutal bear market like 2009? What if a future bear market scares you out of stocks and you end up missing a future bull market, so the returns you actually earn are less than the market average? What if you need to cash out your retirement accounts in your 30s to pay for a medical mishap? The answer to those what ifs, you don't be able to retire like you once predicted, which can be a disaster. The solution is simple. Use room for error when estimating your future returns. This is more art than science. For my own investments, which I'll describe more in chapter 20, I assume the future returns I'll earn in my lifetime will be one third lower than historic average.